Chad's still got to log on here, but that's all good, bro.
He's on.
All right. Elijah, my friend, it's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Sweet.
Hi, Chad. Matthew.
Hello, Elijah. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. This is a very auspicious call, I believe.
Yes, it is, hey?
Just so we sort of know for our viewing audience, why don't we just each introduce ourselves, and perhaps I can facilitate this conversation if that's okay. Is that agreed by you guys?
Sure, that feels okay. I'm open to it.
Chad?
Yep, that sounds good. I know that I'm just pulled over pirating some internet right now, so I'm not too sure how my connection is.
Okay. Okay. If it's too bad, you might want to take out your video at times, depending if you're feeling like your signal is good or not. Okay. So my name is Elijah.
Sounds good.
My name is Elijah Ignatieff of the School of Conscious Communication, coming to you from Duncan, BC, from the command center that is being set up to be a sort of social media center to connect different enterprises, people, and projects in Duncan and around BC, and perhaps Canada and the world. And this is my first contact Zoom meeting with Mathew Learning and Chad Babcock, who I was introduced to from James Waters in Victoria, who is someone who knows a bit of my own work, and he suggested that you get contact with me. And so that's the context for this conversation. And this is, in my words, a business conversation, first contact. And we're just going to kind of get to know each other. And so perhaps if I pass the mic to each of you and give a little bit about what you want to say.
Sure, I'll take the lead on that. Thank you, Elijah, for the opportunity to speak on what seems to be a platform for social media and change and conscious. And you mentioned the words command center, so that's pretty cool. I feel kind of honored. My name is Mathew. My last name is Learning. I grew up in Manitoba. I've been living here on Vancouver Island for 3 years. I live in Victoria. Life's really good. I really enjoy living on the planet and living. James Waters was brought to me through a friend named Jen. And James is a great man, a brilliant man. And though I've known him only months, my respect for him is full. So after a few mentionings of you must connect Elijah, I obviously listened. So grateful to be on the call and excited to collaborate and create. Based on what you've said, it's already a powerful connection. So that's my introduction to myself, and looking forward to what follows here.
Chad?
Okay, perfect. I shut my camera off just because it was breaking up a little bit. But let's see, I'm born and raised here on Vancouver Island. I live out in the Jordan River area. My why is really I wake up every day because I believe alternative choices will only arise with a slight change in values and beliefs. And I just completed a 10-year at the OUR Eco Village up in Shawnigan Lake on a 25-acre demonstration site of permaculture and sustainability. And so basically leading the natural building program and teaching a lot of students and really trying to awaken people to a better connection to nature and really building community and helping people thrive rather than just survive. And I've been working closely with Mr. Matt now for about 2 years. And I thought it would be very cool to be able to support him. And he said, Chad, you really should meet Mr. Elijah. So I thought, well, let's get on this conscious Zoom and let's bring our masterminds together and see what we can do to help shift or collaborate or whatever we have to do to become better as a human being. So always striving to become our highest best. So that's me.
Awesome. This is exciting. I mean, to me, this is a new type of media. Instead of watching the TV and watching many things that never apply to us, this is real life sort of business. and learning how to communicate in a new medium where there is a lot of recorded videos where we are, in a sense, accountable to ourselves in front of the whole world in whatever we do say and whoever we are. And if people want to do business with us, in a sense, they see us here, and then they're going to decide whether they want to interact based upon how we are right now. And so this is the beginning, I think, of a very transparent world and a very ethical world and a very good world where the people on the planet who want to promote beautiful, good things start to make media and get the people's attention away from the media that seems to perpetuate a fear-based mentality and a lot of violence and a lot of things which to me are just not in my realm of either understanding, desire, or interest. And so I look to this to be a way that all of us can create the lifestyles that we want. I mean, we can make a whole business in this laptop. Just in this program, you can create your own business by bringing people together to communicate and bring people together to share their visions and their passions. And right now, what I would like to hear from you, from each of you, is sort of like the bigger vision, the deeper sort of like, what is your big picture projects that you're working on either independently first and then together? Because there's obviously a connection between you two, but sometimes entrepreneurs are working on many different facets to a whole enterprise, and there's different people involved in all of these different systems and ideas. So over to you, Matthew, on your great vision for yourself and the planet.
Excellent. Great questions, my friend. So basically, let me start collaboratively between Chad and I. And Chad's more of a knowledge base and, let's say, expert, or at least more time experience with what's called the Econet. So the Econet is a group of companies that found me, and basically it's not that I chose to align with it. However, you know how things are bigger than just us, so it's not really it's not about me choosing to align. It's just there's a large, amazing vessel called the Econet, which I know Chad will speak on at length because he's been involved for at least 8 years, and I less than 2. However, independently as well, I'm working on a large project called Better Life Victoria, and that's a community-based, basically a command center for community and almost like philanthropic mission and education here in Victoria. So the Better Life Center, the Better Life Communities Vancouver Island is it's not just my project, but it seems to be showing up heavily in my life. So I'd say my 2 main philanthropic and entrepreneurial endeavors are the Econet and this Better Life Center, these Better Life communities. Those are, as an individual human being, I really enjoy public speaking, as they call it, facilitating. I truly, my inner drive is based on culture, personal development, cultural understanding, cultural development. As an individual and an entrepreneur, those are sort of where I put my time. Yeah.
How would you see your function within these 2 systems?
Oh, as a communicator, without a doubt, as a communicator, almost as a, there's an old saying about Rumpelstiltskin, how Rumpelstiltskin would take a straw and turn it into gold. And it's basically, as a bit of a visionary, like probably all 3 of us, I can absolutely connect people and perhaps see the potential of people and see the potential of groups of people or ideas and bring them together with energy to forge something unpredictable, but because goodwill is behind it, no matter whatever the synergy creates will be powerful and good and beneficial. So that's, to answer your question, is my place in it is diverse. In all honesty, I'm surrounded by a lot of mentors, a lot of people who are very wise and experienced. And as a younger man, I just pay attention and I listen and I choose who I surround myself with, and basically that's teaching me to show up in a great manner of leadership. So I'm definitely a student right now. However, very actively engaged in choosing to bring people together to communicate super authentically with excitement and enthusiasm about very real things, so that the culture on the planet can express itself through or to the potential that I know human beings have. That's what I would say.
That sounds very clear, and sounds like you are in the midst of your purpose and destiny by the way you speak of it. And a lot of people are searching for that, but when you find your place, it's very different, isn't it? Because it's a different life. And Chad, how about you?
Yeah, for me, let's see. As an entrepreneur, growing up as an entrepreneur and being very, a couple notches more than self-motivated, I've been able to bring teams together. And I'd say one of my attributes is having integrity and being really true to my heart and having my head and heart connected and really following my intuition. And so I've had quite a few endeavors. But my life has shifted, as I heard you just say. Once you get clear on your why and you know like why you wake up and what you actually do with your time and how it's transforming the world and you can see the results, there's pretty much nothing better than that. And as I used to be seeking, basically, as I was told from the conventional educational system, things that would basically, it's all about, I was told it used to be all about what I was doing. But now I know it's about how I'm being and how I'm spending time and relating to people and building relationships, not just with humans, but with nature and the things in our environment. And so for me, basically, it's been quite a journey. Starting at the Eco Village 10 years ago, starting to change a lot of my values and beliefs, and now having the ability to rewrite a new story for myself every minute of every day and have no attachment to outcome and just absolutely be willing to have radical trust. And so what that's done is I would say the vortex or the law of attraction has really started to put into position things that have allowed me to be constantly working on self, so personal growth, because I truly believe that we all lead by example. We're all students and we're all teachers. And I think that's really important for people to understand that we're all actually leaving a legacy. And it really is, what are we doing with our time? What are we duplicating? Because we're all duplicating. And so I chose to, it actually kind of came in through the back door. Matt alluded to what was called the Econet. So aside from working with the Econet, I'm still pursuing natural building and things like that. But now I'm doing it from a place of not needing to charge labor, which is really cool, because once we get money done and once we're vibrantly healthy and once we know why we do what we do, we don't have to use some of our old education to create income, which really starts to create freedom. And when we don't have any bills and we don't have anything that is basically not handled, then we can be 100% present. And so with this new presence and this new ability, as the Econet kind of started to find me about 8 years ago, I was consciously looking for a shift. And it's like you alluded to, Elijah, I also realized that the revolution is not going to be televised with the conventional media. And it's not going to be distributed through any type of a mainstream marketing channel and or on the shelf of a store. The true change is going to be coming from within each individual person and how we choose to step up. And so if I was to describe a little bit about how the Econet ties in and how that supported me in the last 8 years, is really, we can only be as successful as the 5 people who we spend most of our time with, as we're bouncing ideas and things like that. And in the bottom of my heart, I always thought, man, life sure would be good if we just had everything done. What kind of service could we do? How could we show up in the world and be of service if we didn't have to chase jobs and we didn't have all these responsibilities? And then I met a lot of people who were chasing a lot of purpose in their life, but they'd sacrificed their health or maybe their financial results to get it. They'd poured their life totally into purpose. And then I'd met other people who'd spent their whole life chasing money to be like rich, and basically they sacrificed their purpose, and they maybe weren't that healthy either. And I started to surround myself by people in the Econet, which really is people who take their health super seriously. So very health conscious people, so that we can be on the right frequency and the right vibration, to be awake, to be present with other people, so that it's not about our health being in the way, because typically no matter what we have in life, the minute our health is challenged, everything seems to stop. And instantly our family's stepping up, but we are now the ones being taken care of. So if we're in a role of service, we need to make sure we're as out of the way as possible. And so when the Econet found me, I was having some serious health challenges in my life, and then that now has completely transformed. And then what happened was basically I started to unlock and do my due diligence on what the Econet was, because as a permaculture teacher, if it's not a closed loop system, because truly everything nourishes everything in nature and in the universe. And there is no waste products, and it's kind of a closed loop. And so as I started to look deeper into the Econet, at that time, there were about 32 years in on a 100-year business plan. And I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, and most entrepreneurs who are relatively successful are happy with a 10 or 15-year business plan, not a 100-year business plan. And so as I started to do my due diligence, I realized that they were buying up agricultural holdings on all the different continents and all the different climate zones, so that we could ultimately control our food from seed to thought, farm to family. And I started to realize that we had such incredible infrastructure and resources when it came to using technology, like you alluded to, Elijah, earlier as well, is how we have all this technology that's coming out, whether it be this Zoom platform or this internet, like computer technology, or whether it's full-scale genomics, proteomics, nuclear magnetic resonance. There's so much technology out there that people are unaware of, let alone leveraging it to be their highest and best, that they're really, really uneducated. So the Econet really is, because really it's the creative people and the inventors and the artists that have really been inventing our matrix from the very beginning. And then unfortunately, it usually takes about 10 years for it to be validated by a science. And then after it's validated by science, it takes about another 10 years before it turns into a business that actually makes money. And then in about another 10 years before they start teaching it in school. So typically people are coming out of school about 25 or 30 years behind technology. And by then the technology's changed. And so what the Econet truly does is it brings artists and creators and inventors and out-of-the-box thinkers together with the highest levels of technology in a business model that's based in education and keeping people up to date to use technology. And it's all rooted in health. And the vision and mission is bringing the best of nature to humankind and the best of humans to nature. And this just causes an incredible amount of leadership and an incredible amount of paying it forward and an incredible amount of abundance, no longer living life from a place of limitation, but absolutely coming from a place of clear communication, authenticity, integrity, leaving people better than you find them, and basically allowing to give people hope. Because really, if we can give people hope right now, it's one of the best things we can do. And if we have the time to spend with them and go deeper into relationships, I would say that's one thing we should all be duplicating. So, there's a lot of information on the Econet. As I say, we're 40 years in. So for me to start hitting you guys with a bunch of facts and the fact acts is probably not the best thing to do. However, there's tons of documents. In fact, I dug up a 92-page document that was submitted to the UN Global Compact on the sustainability of the Econet and what we'll be doing. And it's a pretty powerful document. So that can be sent out. And we're just surrounded by so many medical practitioners and so many amazing people that have really learned how to get out of the way so they can really show up in a different way. And so I just really want to duplicate that. And I feel you're doing that, Elijah, as well already, by even recording this and having a platform. And like you say, creating a hub there in Duncan for this conscious evolution where we can start to share all our ideas. Otherwise, it's never going to be heard and we can never get together. So I just very gratitude for you, my friend. Really looking forward to meeting you in person. And yeah, thanks for holding this container.
Wow. Well, that's so inspiring to hear. It's always a boost when you come across other originators and creators and inventors and artists, as you say, people who are in the middle of doing it, people who are going through the same experiences, whether positive or negative, right? Because it is a long haul, it seems, for everyone at some point. When you really get into it, you know you're going as you say, for 100 years, because if you don't look that far into the future, you can't really see what is happening now, because it's so short-term thinking, and so much of our thinking has gone from a cyclical to a linear time base, and very sectioned into short spurts where the mind can't kind of grasp what is needed. And to me, the old paradigm of thinking, the where we have come from, led us to now, but it is also the force that is leading to our extinction if we don't change the way we think collectively. And my focus has been very much on the mind, and very much on how do we think, and then going into larger and larger social systems in terms of how does this individual thinking all of a sudden connect together into this large mass of insanity, which seems to be okay with bombing children in Syria, and okay with all of the problems we're facing, such as cutting down old growth forest trees, or, you know, children starving anywhere. Like, look at the amount of food that is wasted, and look at the amount of food that exists, and look at, you know, the sense of our infrastructure, and we can't solve these problems. I mean, to have homeless people in Canada, where we have how many trees, how much land, I mean, how many people, and yet we're faced with these issues and problems in our lifetime, right in front of us right now. And to me, if we don't do something about it, like in the big way, and what, you know, we're going down a very dark path. Boy, I have a tendency sometimes to not finish sentences, so I'm trying to be a communicator, right? So what I hear from what you have both told me so far today, and to bring in the significance to me of what you're saying, is I hear solution, and I hear longevity, and I hear focusing on the right things that humans need to focus on. And that's so important, how that type of clarity, like, you know where you're going, you know what you're doing, and you know how to take someone from here to there. And so my question to you now is, you know, what is the state of your system in terms of the Econet? Because it seems like you've already proven yourself, and now how does it either go more international, or how does it get to that next level? Every system in some way is heading to the next level. So what is your plan, and where are you at right now?
That's a great question, because truly we are at that spot. Basically, the first 25 or 30 years was about getting all the infrastructure in place first to be able to support people. Because you see a lot of organizations get started, and if they don't sell and market products and services, they can't expand. And to be honest with you, I would say 98% of most companies' goals are to eventually become publicly traded, which just basically puts the money back into the hands of the wrong people. So really being publicly held is a huge thing, because then we get to sort of take money out of the existing monetary system, which maybe isn't the best, and we get to start putting it back into the hands of people who actually need it, and close that loop so the money keeps coming around in systems that are doing good, rather than trickling up to the people at the top who maybe aren't doing so well. So with all the infrastructure we put into place first, was we made sure we had, like I say, we have 4 different multi-million-dollar international organizations that are all basically funded by the same gentleman named Bill Lee, who's a philanthropist. And his goal is to really create a community of people who are awake and can share like a conscious state of being. And so what he's done is he put in these farms so we can grow all the ingredients. And then what happened was they started to do and create what's called Unigen Pharmaceuticals, which is an undercover natural plant research and development organization, but under a pharmaceutical name. And right now, Unigen Pharmaceuticals, over the last 30 years, has basically compiled what's called the Phytologics Plant Library. The Phytologics Plant Library is now well over 18,000 plants, broken down into over 500,000 plant fractions that have been tested on the human genome and proteins for how they interact. And then through double-blind, placebo-controlled human clinical trials using artificial intelligence, they've selected plant compounds, done these trials, and actually created things that help people with the cause, not the symptom of what they're going through. So really, it's like undercover natural products company, but really coming from a pharmaceutical standpoint. And what's gone on over the last 30 years is they've compiled 177 patents and patents pending. And I'll give you one example of one of the patents is on a product called Level G. And when we originally did all our double-blind placebo-controlled studies and people were coming back, their blood work was unbelievably coming back in such a good state. And what Level G is it helps manage people's blood glucose. And so the first thing that we did, because Billy's a philanthropist, the first thing we did was we went to the North American Diabetes Association, which is the largest association related to helping people and funding research and collecting money for research towards diabetes. And we could prove without a shadow of a doubt with all of our studies and all of our tests and everything we'd done that we actually could completely reverse or actually deal with the cause of it with natural plant compounds with no side effects, fully validated. And unfortunately, because there's so many jobs on the line, and it's a never-ending thing that they've got going, there's really millions and hundreds of millions of dollars being dumped into that. So they weren't interested in the solution, and we were just going to give it to them. And they weren't interested in the solution. They were like, nope, we are not interested. Everybody will lose their jobs. And so it just showed me the corruption behind these these subsidiary corporations that are working for other corporations. And it's funny when you think that McDonald's and Coca-Cola are two of the largest funders of the Diabetes Association. So behind the scenes on the conventional matrix, there's some things that are maybe not right. But if we can come in from underneath, from the inside, and do what's right. And so Billy's basically, well, if they don't want it and they're not willing to create the change, then we're just going to give this to the people. So that's just one of the things that we have that we can give and people can share to help their friends, their family, and people not have crazy mood swings, not become diabetic. Typically here in North America, with a birthday and an Easter and a Halloween and a Christmas and Thanksgiving every year for 40 years, God damn, we're almost all pre-diabetic right now and we don't know it. And so we really need to start taking control. That's just one example of the many things we got going on. So this research and development organization called Unigen Pharmaceuticals basically has the world's largest functional medicinal plant library. The next largest plant library is the Smithsonian, and it's just a classification library. They only know the Latin name and where it grows. They don't actually know what it does to the humans. So it's been pretty powerful. That's that. And then, of course, we have Nature Tech, and Nature Tech is super important. The whole thing is rooted in aloe, I have to say. We supply the world with 40% of the world's raw aloe, which is super important as well. There's just so much going on when it comes to being sustainable in this day and age, especially as we start to go into international markets and expand globally. Right now, our reach is Korea, Malaysia, the US, and Canada. We're working on Mexico right now. We haven't gone into momentum, and we're definitely not in all of the countries that we're even close to be going in. But we wanted to make sure that we had all the infrastructure in place first before we did any moving into countries. And what makes the Econet really, really integral is we're actually working with all of the regulatory authorities, which is almost unheard of when it comes to plant compounds. Most companies are scared of regulation, and I'll give you an example. Right now, anybody can take beeswax and dandelion, mix it together, and create some type of a medicinal salve, even though it's never been tested, even though it's got no efficacy and safety. They don't know how bioavailable and bioactive those plant compounds are, because plant compounds actually can change every single year based on the weather. And so to be able to make sure that if we're going to use plants, because plants can also be very dangerous if they're not utilized properly. And if we're going to be using plants in this world, because we're all connected to nature and we need it to stay healthy, then we want to make sure that the plants that we're eating and the food that we're eating is really the highest quality food. It doesn't have herbicides, pesticides, GMOs, or any of this other stuff in there. That really is a concern for most people because they don't really know where their food's coming from. They don't know how it's developed. They don't know how it's grown. They don't know the farmers that well. So really, it does boil down to bringing community back. And then manufacturing, obviously, when you have pharmaceutical grade manufacturing, you can guarantee that everybody's going to have the same results every single time, as long as we've got DNA. And that's pretty powerful. I'll give you some examples. We created another product called Essential. We were commissioned by the UN to basically be able to create a super bioavailable, active protein that could be airdropped into areas of disaster where there was famine and no food, where it needed no water to be added to it, and it could be consumed right away and absorbed within 6 minutes to the bloodstream. Because typically people who are malnourished, what happens is their stomachs become all bloated, and even if you try giving them food, they can't actually eat it. They can't absorb it. So they need to have super bioavailable protein that can be absorbed. So we went to work with our team of 50 full-time scientists, half in Korea, half in Seattle, and we created Essentials, which is all 21 essential amino acids using nanotechnology to break down, the plant compounds into di and tripeptides so it can be absorbed right away. So really, really good for kids, especially around 3 o'clock after school when they're on their way to go play sports. Typically, most parents don't know what to give their kids. They're giving them all these things. And then basically for elderly. Yep.
Pat, can I just interrupt you for a second? We have 10 minutes left because I just got a message from Zoom saying, because I have the free version, and I was just wondering if we could go into some other areas.
Sure.
It's not that much time left.
Yep.
And I'd like to hear from Matthew a little bit more in terms of what we're doing here. Because I was with you for a while, and then I got lost a bit in what you were saying.
Okay, sorry about that. Yep, absolutely.
Because part of this is learning how to communicate, and part of this is seeing how we come across. And so what we're doing here too, we're going to look at it, we're all going to be able to watch it again, and then we get to see ourselves or hear ourselves and then just see what happened, because part of the school of conscious communication isn't just kind of communicating, it's watching how we communicate at the time we're communicating and sometimes giving some feedback. So the
I love it. I love it.
So I'll bring in this question, looking at the Econet, and who are the people out there that you feel you want to reach first, and who are the people that might need it the most? Because I know, let's say if we're going business to business, there's a lot of different people who are like pre-entrepreneurs. They haven't even got a business yet. There are entrepreneurs who might be running 1 or 2 businesses, and they've been doing it for 5 years. And then there's other people who might have been doing this for over 10 years, and they may or may not be able to integrate with whatever the Econet is. So how do you distinguish people? And then how do you come up with communication platforms to speak to those specific people about what you're offering?
I'm glad you asked. Well, it really ties into the evolution that's happening right now. Your question is the exact question we're asking. And what I know is here in Victoria and nationwide, like North America wide, we're reaching a vast amount of population in terms of different ethnic backgrounds, all different ages, different styles of human beings. So I guess your question is, who and how can it get to people? But essentially, it's anybody. Essentially, it's everybody. I mean, whether it's health, wealth, or purpose, everybody's okay with those things, or at least maybe even wanting those things. So everybody applies. However, typically it helps. It's almost a necessity if you're heart-centered, as we say. We don't want to really work with people that aren't there yet. If you haven't done the deep work, then that's okay. Those people just need to spend a little more time with themselves, and they can be coached in that. So I guess how I would see it is there's basically like red apples, and there's like green apples, and then there's like rotten apples, and they're all okay. Red apples are like people who are, if you go to an apple tree and you pick a red apple that falls right into your hand, they're ready to go. So that's like you and me, Chad. Lots of human beings, especially on this island, are ripe. They're conscious. They're ready. Their hands are out. Intuitively, innately, there is this drive for the change that is happening and coming. And innately, and sometimes outwardly, these red apples, these human beings are like eager. Like, I wish there was a group of people that could provide this space or I want to contribute. I have a human need. It's called contribution. I wish I had a place to contribute. The soup kitchen is kind of working, but to be honest, I wish I could help on a global scale. And so basically, there's the red apples. There's the people that are ready and ripe, and that's really who we're communicating to. That's really who we're attracting. However, most people, because of our school system, because of the way, as you say, the media is, basically our environment, a lot of people are what we call green apples. They're just not quite ripe yet to maybe jump on a Zoom with Elijah and Matt and Chad. They maybe just wouldn't get this or couldn't digest it properly. So they just need a little more time and a little bit of education and maybe some fun and some community to show them or give them hope again, as Chad said, that there is a conscious revolution. It definitely isn't televised. Don't worry, you don't have to live in your basement for the rest of your life playing video games or whatever you're doing that you're only doing because secretly you're deep down, you're kind of afraid to come out. Don't worry, there is a safe community of people, and let's grow into it. Let's grow into it, if you want to. And then there's the rotten apples. Those are the human beings who, I guess we can just call them the eternal pessimists. The people that just for some reason just aren't willing to see the light, and there's a lot of negativity there, and that's okay. Their soul is just on a different journey, a different karmic journey, and those are not the people that we're marketing to or attracting, because as they say, one rotten apple could spoil a bunch. And so to answer your question, everybody applies. If you have DNA, if you're a human being, if you're a soul in a body, you apply to the Econet, because the only goal of the Econet is to help self-actualize the planet. And part of doing that is bringing the best of nature to humankind. And that's my answer. That's my answer, is everybody applies, but the goal really is to build a very strong foundation of leadership based in heart-centered, service-orientated collaboration, such as what we're doing here. And then once you get a bunch of pillars together who are dedicated to helping create a new earth, a better earth, and help create better lives for people, once you have that leadership foundation, which we already do here in Victoria, there are many of us, and North America wide, but the stronger and bigger it grows, the more synergistic it becomes, and the more people we can reach. And the people we're wanting to reach are like-minded individuals who are dedicated to themselves, to the abundance and the personal growth of themselves and other people, and the people who are actually willing to carve out the time that it takes to create that freedom, whether it's psychological, spiritual, financial, social, whatever the realm is. So that's my answer to your question.
Okay, well, that's quite an answer. And I would, just to finish things off, how can people contact you? What's the next step? What is the bit of the process that you put them through for them to become educated into what you're offering? Chad, you want to take this? I think you got to take your microphone off. We can't hear you.
Okay. Yep, absolutely.
Hey,
well,
Elijah.
if people really wanted, oh, there you go.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, this will stop. This will stop in about a minute, this Zoom. So let's just, if people really want to find out what's more going on with the Econet, they can contact Mathew Learning, or myself. We do have an office in Victoria where we meet up with people regularly. If people can't make it to Victoria and we're going to take this worldwide, we can send information via email. But typically what we like to do is actually have more of a personal one-on-one with people, find out what it is that they are wanting and how we can support it with whatever resources we have. And everybody's so unique, so it really does boil down to building the relationship first.
Well, that's great. I think there was a lot of inspiration and a lot of, I guess, the skimming of this deep network of connectivity between people, between you and being able to coach people to perhaps to reach their dreams. And it sounds as if anyone who is interested would need a good sit down with each of you or both of you to find out how it's going to work with them. So thank you very much, Mathew and Chad. And we look forward to seeing you in perhaps the next session, step 2 of whatever this is in the School of Conscious Communication. I'm Elijah Ignatieff, and thank you very much.